Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Take 1. Well, welcome back to another video on some of the features of ECIO. This particular one is developing a risk register, something that most project managers and most managers have in fact need to do. So we're going to show you a couple of interesting ways to develop a risk register, how you can track some of the risks, developing mitigation plans, etc., as well as some of the particular components that we have in fact tied to our risk profile on this. So one of the things is we do have an issues log and track issues a little bit differently. We kind of approach risks from the perspective of an unrealized issue. So there's some developments, some ways to handle it in terms of a plan of action, how you back to the issue at hand. So different ways to handle risks in terms of financials, how it might affect your budgets, etc. We won't go necessarily into the details on that. We want to keep these presentations as quick as we can. So one of the first items that we may need to do is, in fact, we've got a risk that we've identified. We want to see if, in fact, that risk has been recorded by anybody else and what they've done, in fact, to mitigate it, and maybe we can take advantage of that same plan. So we're going to look at, we have some risks associated with some facts, particular capabilities in our project, and so we want to look at what they've done. So we'll do a search, and facts capabilities not proven. So there is something out there. It's been identified as a technology risk within a systems and infrastructure. So we're just going to bring that up. And here's the information that we collect on our particular risk, mitigation plan, status, it's been approved or not approved, the health, target probabilities, etc. on that side of it, the data was opened, etc. on that perspective, if there's impact as far as dollars, etc., that we may want to calculate a little bit later. Overall description, some comments. In fact, we have a strategy to approach how we're going to manage the response on it, as well as some of the other aspects that we want to track with the risk: who was open, who the owner is, if it's tied to a project, if it's tied to a change notice, who the functional assignment within our organization that owns this. If we want to tie it to a specific strategy that the corporation is using, we'd do that. If we want to track this one by deliverable, then we can do that. Any of the functions that might be affected, if there's a website as well as associated with it. And also the information that we can log against a particular risk in terms of if we want to track the action items, who else is affected by it, who do we need to talk to, and there's RACI diagrams on that. Financials, as I mentioned, in case there's implications on our project budget, what we need to do on that. Projects that this also may be related to. So we've come up with this particular risk. It may affect some of that, and then if there's back to the risk taxonomies in terms of, you know, other categories that this risk may cross into, we want to track those various items. UC is obviously under construction, so if there's issues attached to it, other CCNs and other strategies, a little bit more detail on that side of it, and some of the reports, and we'll go into some of the reports on that. So this is a little bit more detailed. This is probably a maturity model, a little bit more senior. There are simpler ways to, in fact, track risks if we wanted to keep it at a basic rudimentary level. If we had a deliverable or a status report that we're doing, and we just want to track, in fact, that we have this risk and who owns it, etc. So we can track them through types of action items, and I'm not going to go into detail on those. There's a separate video on how we do status reports, etc. that'll be coming out. But just to illustrate, here is in fact a little bit more detailed action item register that we have, and we could just have our normal status report, and this in fact is tracking specific risks, what the details, the status is, who might own it, any estimated completion dates, etc. on that side. So it's another more simplistic way of doing it. You don't get into the mitigation. You're just getting into, in fact, what we need to do to tackle that particular. So if we go into again back to our reports, let's say, so the standard one is we wanted to print out and in fact do details on it. We're just going to print out the profile. For this particular one, it's facts, so we'll select under risk. Again, facts capability is not proven. Select that item, do OK, and this brings up our risk profile and printed form that we can email to individuals, print out, etc. There's also ways to collect more information on this one if we wanted to send this out. Ownership, we did key in a description, but these are some of the fields that we could have kind of keyed in. The actors, as I mentioned, are those people that either have some responsibility in participating with or that are influenced by this particular risk. The risk categories, and I'll show you a little bit on that, and the action items that were all tied into that. So in this particular one, we don't have any action items. We haven't entered in any action items. So that's the profile. Again, I was talking a little bit about the, and I'll bring up this, the categories. Here's some of the categories that we have, in fact, in the system. They keep getting augmented, and there's some different ratings on these ones. So for in their development environment, development processes, there's some general. So these things will continually get driven out. The interesting thing is if there's some standard weights that we have within it in terms of understanding the influence, the level of oversight, if, let's say, by the organization on if we do have a risk that is associated with our work environments or business risks, who would we normally inform on that side of it. Customers, etc. If there was something on that side that we needed to kind of go outside of the project or our organizational structure, then that would tell us generically who we need to touch base with and supplement maybe that actor's component. The other item, okay, so we will now we'll go into, if we wanted to go into some of the report listings, we'll clear off some of these screens. We'll go into let's see, we'll go into project overview. So this will give us kind of our resource listings on it. We're going to bring up our project we happen to be working on is in fact the store equipment rollout. And so these are with the dates, these are all the risks, ownerships, etc. So as a high level overview, if there's scores and impact on those items, certainty factors, then in fact these are an overview of some of the risks we are tied into on that side of it. This is just the project information. And if we wanted to, in fact, get into going into this, we wanted to get into a little bit more details, then we can, in fact, just the expanded form of the profile. ST store equipment rollup. So this will be a little bit more detailed listings of the fact of each of the risks within it. So you can, if you were having separate risk meetings that you need to get into more of the details, then you can. Oops. You can do that. So these are the categories that we talked a little bit about before. Who the owners are to resolve some of these ones. So general. So on that. In this one, we do have some action items, what we need to do, and we can follow up on the statuses on each of those, etc. on that side of it. So the other aspects, I think, for the risks, obviously we can tie to the ownership, making sure that whoever owns that one is coming up and doing a follow-up plan on it, to the other affected stakeholders and parties that may be outside of either your organizational structure or your particular project. Risk can apply to programs or portfolios, to business risks, etc. That if you're trying to follow up on some of those, then it keeps that all organized for you. And that ends this video on developing a risk register, conducting the follow-up on that. If you have more questions, you can try to get a hold of us, or get a hold of us at support@eciosolutions.com, or more information is available on our website at www.eciosolutions.com.